Hello everyone, my name is Fabian Zimmer. I am the acting product manager for the memory group, and I'll walk you through our 13.8 plans. But before I do that, I want to quickly recap some of the efforts that we did in the 13.7 release. If you remember from last time when I spoke to you, but as a refresher, we had a focus week to focus on understanding what would be needed to reduce GitLab's memory footprint, ideally to around 2 gigabytes. We currently recommend at least 4. So this was an exploratory exercise conducted in a synchronous manner with the team. And as an outcome of that, we've identified several issues with the potential memory savings that we're going to work on in the new release 13.8, and ideally, or very likely also beyond that. So I'll walk you through some of the most impactful changes that we will be able to make. So the first one is to reduce pumas memory footprint. So Puma is a key component of GitLab, a web server, and we are going to work on making it more memory efficient, especially on memory constrained instances. So we are upgrading Puma to 5.1. There are some changes to the GC compaction before forking Puma workers that we're going to make that are going to happen in 13.8, and also running Puma in a single mode for a constrained environment. So those are ongoing efforts, and working with Puma and configuring it in such a way that it reduces less memory is one of our priorities. Another issue that we're going to work on that came out of the research week is to optimize the loading of gems. So this is essentially just handling gems and how they get loaded into GitLab, and we can do that in more memory efficient ways. So we're going to work on that in 13.8 as well. Another angle of attack is splitting the application into functional parts to ensure that only needed code is loaded with all dependencies. That also makes intuitive sense. We should really only load the parts of GitLab that are needed and not keep all of the dependencies and unneeded other parts in memory if we can avoid it. So this is going to address that concern and investigate how that works. A rather large item that has been broken down quite well by one of our engineers here is the GitLab exporter functionality. And so we are exporting some parts, some metrics via GitLab exporter, but this is actually a relatively old part of GitLab. There are several metrics endpoints in here that we may be able to migrate out of the GitLab exporter into more modern parts of the applications or other parts of the application. And there's a wider interesting consideration here to understand that the metrics stack all of the applications that have to do with monitoring, and the metrics that we expose consumes a relatively large amount of memory. And so working with the GitLab exporter is one of the ways of reducing the memory footprint right now. There may be some future work as well to understand what parts of the metrics and monitoring are required, especially for small instances. Finally, there's always a question of how do we actually measure the memory improvements against the baseline metrics. So the important thing here to know is that this is an ongoing effort. We are continuing to discuss how we do this best in 13.8 to understand the impact that we're making. Essentially, if there's a change, we want to understand how does that impact GitLab's memory behavior, and there's a wider range of things that we can do to also understand trends over time. So this is an investigation to do that, but also find sort of a minimal viable thing that we can do right now, and this is being discussed right as we speak. But hopefully in 13.8 we're going to work towards that goal. And finally, one of the very important last bits of 2020 is also to update our memory team branding. So we are discussing about a logo for the GitLab memory team, and this was graciously designed by the enablement designer Sun Jung. So you may see me wearing a GitLab memory hoodie next time I present this. So thanks again. I hope you have a great rest of the year. And that's it from the memory team. Bye-bye.